So you're just having a normal shift, you're enjoying yourself, and then EMS arrives with a patient who arrested pre-hospital. He got one shock, VFib. They got return of spontaneous circulation. They tried to intubate, they couldn't intubate. They couldn't get the mouth open. So then he arrives, he's barely breathing, GCS 5, looks terrible, clearly needs to be intubated. You open the mouth and you see this. This lovely young lady was just started on an ACE inhibitor. She comes in, says she's got this crazy tongue swelling and her voice is kind of weird. She looks okay. 10 minutes, she starts screaming, sort of, because she's now having trouble, her sats are dropping and she's in distress. This guy. We talked about Cric readiness yesterday. Most of the time, once you initiate the procedure, it goes well. It's not a technically difficult procedure most of the time. The key is to give yourself permission to do it before the patient is already dead. Perhaps the hardest part of the procedure, in fact, is navigating the dozens of techniques for cricothyrotomy that have been espoused over the years, and then making sure that you have the materials at bedside for the technique that you have chosen to know how to do. Cricothyrotomy techniques are generally divided into two. There's the open surgical techniques, you can see on the left an example, and then there's the percutaneous Seldinger technique, which you can see on the right with the familiar wire and dilator being transmitted by the tracheostomy tube. Over the past decade or so, there's been a fair amount of data that has demonstrated that the percutaneous technique takes significantly longer and is less likely to be successful. So now most of us aren't talking about the percutaneous technique and we're focusing on the open surgical technique for cricothyrotomy, but there's a dozen ways to do the open technique. And there are any number of kits, and they're all different. And if you wait until the moment that you need to do it to open your kit, the one that's at your shop, you open it up and you might see this. What is all this shit? Well, it turns out that this kit has materials for a surgical Cric and a Seldinger percutaneous Cric in one kit, which seems like a good idea, except that in the heat of the moment is going to be really confusing. To make matters worse, on the surgical side, they include a tracheal hook and a trousseau dilator, which most of us have never used and some of us have never even heard of. So most of us now, airway pundits, are recommending the scalpel finger Bougie tube technique or some variation thereof. One of the many advantages of this technique is that it only uses a small number of pieces of equipment that are very familiar to us. A scalpel, a finger, a Bougie, and a tube. All right. So you've made the decision to go forward with cricothyrotomy, so the hardest part is over. Now you just have to do the procedure. The first thing to do is to get eye protection, because this can be a bloody mess. This is kind of crazy. I'm not going to put this on because of the microphone, but you'll have to imagine that I'm wearing this. If you're right-handed, you're going to be holding the scalpel in your right hand, which means you need to be on the patient's right, as I am. So you position yourself on the right side of the patient, then you extend the neck. This will be the first time that I've performed a cricothyrotomy after a couple of drinks. We'll see how it goes. If you have skin prep available, great, splash some of it on the neck. If you don't, which I don't, then don't worry about it. The first step is Rich Levitan's laryngeal handshake. And this is quite an important step because it condenses the procedure into a field that you can feel, because it's going to be a blind procedure, as you'll see soon. So the laryngeal handshake is when you grasp the entire larynx with your 5 fingers, leaving the index finger free. So like this, you're coming from above with your non-dominant hand, And you kind of have your hand all around the larynx. You give it a little bit of a handshake, as it were. Get a feel for it, leaving your index finger ready. That's going to become very important. Next slide. Scalpel, finger, bougie, tube. So you have your scalpel. Laryngeal handshake. The first step is a vertical midline cut. You want to go down the midline, which you'll be able to feel because you have your hands all the way around the larynx. So you'll know it's midline. Next slide. There's a common concern among people who are thinking about cricothyrotomy that they can't find the cricothyroid membrane through the skin. People spend a lot of time, don't move. People spend a lot of time trying to find their own cricothyroid membrane. They're feeling each other's cricothyroid membrane. Those are useful maneuvers. But much more important is to recognize that if you can't find the cricothyroid membrane through the skin, it's no problem. You don't need to feel the cricothyroid membrane through the skin. You will find the cricothyroid membrane with your finger after you make the cut. Next slide. Once you make the cut, which I'm going to do now, getting a nice grasp of the larynx here, we're going to make a nice midline cut from thyroid cartilage down to suprasternal notch. There's no reason to hold back. You want to make it big enough. The error is always to go too small. You very rarely see a problem with people making too much of a cut. Everyone always errs on the side of too little. So now you have a cut in the skin of the neck. Once you do that, the rest of the procedure is blind. It's going to be a bloody mess. Don't worry, your finger can see. Next slide. So you take your finger on your non-dominant laryngeal handshake hand and you plunge it into the vertical incision on the skin that you just made, and you feel along the length of that incision. And as you do that, you will feel a divot. And that divot is the cricothyroid membrane. You are not going to see it because it's a bloody mess. You're going to feel it. Your finger can see. So you now have your finger, you say, oh, that's the cricothyroid membrane. That's where I'm going to make my next puncture. Next slide. So now you do a stab horizontal incision through the cricothyroid membrane. You have your finger on it, you feel it right there, then you move your finger out of the way and do a stab horizontal incision. You cut a little bit towards you, flip it 180, cut a little bit away from you. Okay? And now you've made a vertical cut through the skin and a horizontal cut through the cricothyroid membrane. And once you make that cut through the cricothyroid membrane, there's likely to be a burst of air through blood, and you might get some bubbling. That's very reassuring. Next slide. Once you make an adequate sized horizontal incision through the cricothyroid membrane, you're done with the scalpel, and you can remove the scalpel. Don't put your finger back in there when there's a scalpel in the hole. That's often recommended because there's old teaching that stipulates that you must always have something in the airway, as if the stab or the airway is going to move. The airway is not going anywhere. It's right where you left it. So you're done with the scalpel. You can put it down. Next slide. Scalpel, finger, bougie, tube. This is the finger. Now you take your finger and you plunge it into the hole you just made, and now your finger is in the trachea. And that's very reassuring. You'll feel some tracheal rings. You'll feel all that hard cartilage all on every side. Next slide. Scalpel, finger, bougie, tube. You have your bougie ready so that you don't have to turn your back to the patient like I'm doing right now. You have your bougie, you have your finger in the hole, and now you slide your bougie down the sensitive part of your finger, the finger pad, into the trachea along your finger. And the reason that you want both in at the same time is not for your finger to keep the hole open. The hole's not going anywhere. The purpose of the finger here is to make sure that your bougie is going in the right direction. It's going in the right place. The bougie can easily make a false passage. Don't let that happen. Keep your finger in the hole, allow the bougie to move along your finger, and you can feel the bougie moving exactly where it needs to go. Remember, your finger can see. So now you have your bougie through the cricothyroid membrane in the trachea. You can remove your finger. Next slide. Scalpel, finger, bougie, tube. Last is the tube. You give me a hand over this Bougie. Perfect. This is really. Thanks very much. So your tube goes along the Bougie. So now you have a tube in the trachea. Ideally, you would have a tracheostomy tube. A tracheostomy tube is much preferred over an endotracheal tube because a tracheostomy tube is designed to enter the airway through the neck, so it's much, much, much easier to secure than an endotracheal tube. But unless you're ready beforehand, you may not have a tracheostomy tube at bedside, so it's fine. You just use a 6.0 endotracheal tube, and you'll worry about securing it later. So now you have the tube in the trachea. Remember, you don't have to go very far. You can remove the Bougie. So now you have a trachea. You have an endotracheal tube in the trachea. You would inflate the cuff with a syringe that I don't have. End tidal capnography. Next slide. Bag. You've now placed your tube in the trachea. You can secure your tube, and you've now performed a successful cricothyrotomy and saved the patient. Thanks very much, you guys, and thanks to our model.